Well, hey guys, it's good to see y'all again this week. How was your week? How's your family doing? Rob?
We're doing good. We just got back from vacation, and I thought it was a vacation. We went on with two other families, and we had 8 kids under the age of 7 in one house, and so you can just imagine the chaos and pandemonium that ensued. It was a week long. Came home with a different idea of what a vacation is going to be like with all these kids, but even more chaotic was we decided we were down at the beach and decided to take the 5 oldest fishing all at the same time on the dock. And with 3 fishing poles and 5 kids, and we're catching fish, and ultimately, we have a massive tangle. And one of the dads is trying to untangle one portion of the mess, and there's another portion that's out on the end of the rods that the kids are still holding over the water. And so I decided that I think I can reach it and untangle it, while the kids are distracted, and get them all back fishing at the same time. And I have this moment where I'm reaching out, and all of a sudden I feel that weight shift, and unfortunately, in my pocket was our 5 to 10 minute on-demand babysitter, my iPhone, for our kids. They like to look at the pictures of themselves. Well, here I go into the water, and in slow motion, I said out loud, I said, "Here I go," and then here's the splash. And no harm, no foul, just the pride was hurt a little bit, and get out. And for the remainder of the week, my 2-year-old daughter, who is an absolute pistol, asked me if she could look at the pictures on my phone, and I had to have this conversation with her of why she couldn't. And her response was, "Daddy, you know that you can't take your phone swimming in the ocean with you." So, but other than that, we're good. We're back, new phone, so the babysitter's back in business. We're doing good.
Cool. Mark, what about y'all? How was your week?
Oh, it's been good. Been running 100 miles an hour with my 2 jobs, and the wife trying to entertain both girls since they're home for the summer, and it's just been a busy summer and week, but just got back from watching the Yankees beat the Rangers, so I was happy there, and it's been it's been a good week.
Cool. Mitchell, what about y'all? How was your week?
Our week's been good. The family's healthy. Ashley, Tatum, and Bryce, they've been busy this summer. Every week's been busy, but Bryce, she's 18 months old, and I think we're at the stage where we need a translator in our house, because when she speaks, it sounds gibberish, and all we hear is mom and dad at the end of her long sentences. Yeah. So we're trying to figure out if she's needing her shoes on or wants something to eat, but that's about a day-to-day thing in our house right now.
That's cool. Well, you guys know we read some chapters in the Bible each week and want to come and just talk about how God's spoken to us that week through His Word. And so, Rob, can you tell us just how God spoke to you this week through His Word?
Sure. I had helped with the kids' classes in elementary last weekend, and they were working in Matthew chapter 5, and I was just kind of perusing around that area, and ended up in chapter 6, verse 24. It says, no person can have 2 masters, and at the end of that, it basically uses the example of you cannot love God and love money. But I think for adults in today's world, you could remove money and pretty much insert anything, a job, an addiction, another person, but you cannot serve 2 masters, because you will always default to one over the other. And a few verses down from that, in 27, it says, has your worrying ever added 1 hour to your life? And it became very evident that there was a reason that I had read that this week. When we came home from our vacation, we had received a bill, an unexpected bill, and it was a bill that would have allowed us to go back on the same vacation 3 more times. So, when you come home from vacation, you typically don't come home with as much money as you left with. And so there was money has always been my second master, the pursuit and how to make more. And, it's never enough. And so here comes the worry. My wife and I talk about it, and we pray about it, and we have a loose game plan, and we start down this road of trying to figure this thing out. And on Thursday of this week, we get an envelope in the mail from Covenant Medical Center. Well, we just had our 3rd child in April, and you don't really expect to receive anything from the hospital. The bills come for, it seems like, an eternity after you've left. And we open it up, and it's an insurance refund check. And it was basically, my wife and I had started the eLife tithing challenge back in March or April on a consistent basis. We'd always given here and there, but never consistently like we're called to. And so we took that challenge. And the envelope right underneath the insurance refund check was our eLife giving statement. And the refund totaled exactly 50% of what we had given to this point in the year. And it was not enough to cover the whole bill, but it was a step in the right direction. And it was just kind of God, prodding me a little bit, saying, "Gotcha."
Yeah.
So, but those the Matthew 24, 6:24 and 6:27.
That's good. Mark, what about you?
For me, it was Hebrews 13:5, talking about being satisfied with what you have, and that He's going to give you what you need. Recently, my business is here, and life's great. It was going to jump to here, so I instantly just started saying yes to all these things, and just focused on the dollar and not what He was wanting me to do. And I found myself being more stressed out about things, and that's when this verse really jumped out to me that, one, I need to start doing what I used to do, which is asking Him, is this what you want me to do? And not just focus on, hey, all I care about is more money, more money, more money. And so that's the verse that really impacted my heart this week. It's Hebrews 13:5 for that reason.
Cool. Mitchell, what about you? How did God speak to you through His word this week?
Matthew 6:33-34 says, "Seek the heavenly kingdom above all and live righteously. And don't worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow has its own worries. Today is enough trouble in itself." And that really hit home with me, because that's something that I struggle with. I'm always, when I get home, I'm still worried about what I have tomorrow, what I have the next day, what I didn't get done at work. What, those type of things. It might not even be work. It might be something that I've got coming up on the weekend. And I'm missing out spending devoted time with my family, and with my wife and kids. And so that verse right there really touched me.
Cool. Well, you guys know we talk a lot about how these groups will impact your life, change your family. And can you tell me just about how you've seen this group impact your life and your family? Rob?
Number one, just for me, is I have to have the accountability for my quiet time. If I don't, I stray. I'll wander, and I'm easily distracted. And so just knowing that those guys are doing the same thing and depending on me helps me. It's not a hindrance or a burden, but and just the amount of experience that our group has. We have people from so many walks of life that are all running ragged, crazy schedules, and just to know that they're taking the time to come and share that time with you, to be with you and help you if you need help, or maybe you're the one that's there to help someone else. But sometimes it's just invaluable for me. For my family, my wife stays at home with 3 kids, and she needs the adult interaction big time, and to share some of the trials and tribulations of staying home with kids and what that brings. And it was never more evident of the impact that our group had on us as a family. Like I mentioned, we had our 3rd child in April, and the entire pregnancy for my wife was tough. She had strep throat, 3 sinus infections, and the flu during the pregnancy. And then the day we bring our daughter home, my son gets struck with one of those 7-day viruses where his fever was just spiked to 105. So we're quarantining him from the baby. And then after he's about to come out of it, my wife starts to feel puny again, and she gets strep and pink eye. And then to compound that, right as my son gets over it, my wife's getting sick. My middle daughter decides that she's going to take the virus that my son had. She couldn't have had it at the same time he did. That, I guess, would have been a little bit easier to have everybody sick at once. But and we're not a dirty family. I mean, my wife is like Wonder Woman and Mary Poppins all mixed in one. She can do anything. But there was an onslaught, and our life group, we knew they were praying for us. They were bringing us meals. Some of the moms called and offered to take, whatever healthy kids we had at the time, just to get them out of the house. And we all have family and we all have friends, but just to have that small spiritual community that surrounds you in times like that, for me, it was invaluable.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's good. Mark, what about you? What impact has the group had on you and your family?
For me, it's been I'm one of those people that if somebody's going to give me advice, I'd like for them to either have gone through it, or something like that. And what I realized is no one judged me for anything I was going through, and that the guys, I could relate to either stuff that they've gone through or that or maybe vice versa that way. And it was nice being able to talk to these guys about the same stuff that I was going through, and like you'd said, everybody, has kids, and with my wife, she gets that interaction with, the other moms, and so they get to talk about stuff that I can't really relate to, or understand, and the other is the accountability, being able, sometimes I forget to do my quiet time, but when I think about the guys that are doing their time, I'll grab my phone real quick and look at the Bible on there and look at some verses, and it's just a nice group to be a part of.
Yeah, that's good. Mitchell, what about you? What impact has being a part of a group like this had on you and your family?
Our small groups had a huge impact on our marriage and our family. I would say that the reason God's at the center of our relationship and our marriage is because of our small group. Just having the families that are in the same stage of life with work, with kids, parenting, things, family issues that you might need help with. It's just good to have that relationship with families that are in the same stage of life, and to help each other out, or to receive the help from them as well. So it's had a huge impact.
That's good. Well, I appreciate you guys coming up here and sharing about what God's been doing in your life and how He's changed your life as a result of being part of this group. I know it's hard, especially with a lot of people watching. So you guys give them a hand and just thank them for coming up and sharing. Mark Cortines was in the group that my wife and I launched about 4 years ago. We started, and he and his wife helped us start that group. And not long after we started that group, Mark and I had this bet. And the bet was to see who could lose the most body fat percentage in about a 2-month period of time, okay? So Mark's taking this serious. So he gets us set up with a doctor, and the doctor's measuring us and weighing us and getting our percentages and all this kinds of stuff. And so we know where we're at, and so we're working out and doing all this stuff to try to, and changing the way we eat and all this kind of stuff to try to lose some body fat. And we get to the end of this 2-month period, and we go back and we measure and get our percentages and all that kind of stuff, and we're almost dead even. It was 1/100%, and so we just called it a tie. But that set me, that bet set me kind of on a different path, where over the next year, I lost about 50 pounds in a year. And it changed my life physically and in my health since that time. Now, today, I work out most mornings with Lee McClure, our downtown campus pastor. And we go and we work out most mornings. And what I found is that working out with someone else helped me to be more consistent than when I was doing it alone. In fact, when I was on my own, I wasn't doing anything. But when I was working out with somebody else, or when I had that bet going with Mark, it was easier for me to stay more consistent. It was easier for me to stay on the right track. Now, Lee, if I'm ever late or if I don't show up or whatever, Lee starts giving me a hard time. He starts texting me, man, you're such a baby. What are you doing? You're lazy. Get out of bed. All this kind of stuff. I'm getting bigger than you. You better get over here. And so he's always kind of challenging me and getting, and pumping me. And I'm doing the same to him, making fun of each other, if we don't ever show up or do anything like that, or pushing each other, when we're working out. And you know what? The same thing is true in your spiritual life. The exact same principle is true. It's easier to grow spiritually with other people than to do it all on your own. It's easier to grow spiritually. It's either to stay on the right track and keep pursuing the things you need to pursue, to do the things that you need to keep doing when you're doing it with other people. Check this out. This is Acts chapter 2, starting in verse 42, and it says this: all the believers devoted themselves. Like they weren't doing it on their own. They were doing this together. To the apostles' teaching, to the fellowship, and to sharing in meals, including the Lord's Supper, and to prayer. They were devoting themselves to this. They weren't trying to do this all on their own. In Acts 2, there was about 3,000 people that commit their life to Christ in a day. And it says that all these believers, they started doing these things together. They were devoting themselves to spiritual growth together. They weren't doing it on their own. They weren't isolating themselves from the rest of the group. They were doing it together. Now check this out. You keep going here in verse 46, and we kind of see how they did this. It says they worshiped together in the temple each day, much like we're doing right now, sitting in rows, worshiping together. But it says they also met in homes for the Lord's Supper and shared their meals with great joy and generosity, all the while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. And each day the Lord added to their fellowship those who were being saved. So see, they met in large groups for worship, just like we're doing now, sitting in rows, worshiping together, having a teaching, a word from God. But they also met in homes. Acts is clear. It says they met from house to house. They met in homes to study the Bible together, to pray together, to eat together, to enjoy each other's company. You see, they did both. And a lot of us here at Experience Life are missing out because we're only experiencing one of those things. We sit in rows for worship, which is great, but you're not meeting in homes in the group so that you can grow spiritually together with other believers. See, they met in large groups and in small groups. They met in rows and in circles, in small groups. And that's what we do through our life transformation groups that meet all throughout the week. They used to be called Lifehouse, but over the last year, we've changed the name of those groups. They're now called life transformation groups. And that's what we do in these groups. We're reading the Bible together. We're praying together. We're doing different spiritual disciplines that are helping us grow in our daily relationship with Jesus. Because see, here's the thing. We don't want to be just church attenders. That's kind of like religion. Just being at something 1 hour a week, and that's the only time that we really give Jesus. That's kind of like religion. Just sitting in rows and watching. See, we want to be followers of Jesus that are growing and having a daily relationship with Jesus. And in these circles, that's where you can be held accountable for that and encouraged to do that. And learn how to read the Bible and talk about that and hear from God and apply it to your life. Is you can do that in these groups. You see, we don't want to just be church attenders. We want to be followers of Jesus that are growing in our daily relationship with Him. Now, I took a guy to lunch about a week ago that's been in my group over the last year. And he's moving at the end of this summer. And so I just wanted to, connect with him before he left and see how he was doing. And while we were eating, I asked him, I said, hey, what impact has this group had on your life, on your family? And he said this, he said, Clayton, being a part of this group has changed my life. He said, it literally saved my marriage. He said, I probably wouldn't be married to my wife today if it wasn't for being a part of this group. And then he said this, check this out. He said, attending worship is great. He said, but being in a group like this is where the rubber meets the road. He said, being in a group like this, it's where you actually live out the things that we're talking about on the weekends, the things that we're singing about. He said, being in a group, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you actually begin to live out and obey what we're actually talking about. That's where you actually begin to develop that daily relationship with Jesus, is in the small group setting. Now, my life was also changed in a group like this. You see, growing up, I was just a church attender. I went to church once a week, and I would sit in a row and watch and listen, and it was great. But my life was changed when I got into a small group, and I was in high school with a bunch of guys, and we were reading the Bible together and praying together and holding each other accountable. We were memorizing verses together, doing, again, like we do in our groups, just basic spiritual disciplines to help us grow and have a daily relationship with Jesus. And so I was in this group, and Pastor Chris and I were in this group together. We grew up together. In fact, here's a picture of us in kindergarten, first grade time. And you got the baseball bat tee. We were on t-ball teams together. We went to school together, church together, all those kinds of things. But so we grew up together, and we were in this group together in high school. Now, when we got into high school and we got in this group, our relationship began to change. We had always been friends, but when we got in this group, we really began to help each other grow spiritually by being a part of this group together. Our relationship totally changed, so much so that when I was a senior in high school, I was out one night doing something stupid with another friend from my group, and we were stealing road signs off of the poles all around the city, backing it with our truck, bolting them, dropping them in the truck, and then taking off. And so we did this with a lot of different road signs, so we could hang them up in our rooms and be cool and all that kind of. So I don't advise this. Like, if you're in high school or something, this is not a good idea. I could have gotten in a lot of trouble for this. So we're doing this. Well, the next day, I'm eating lunch with Chris, and I'll never forget, he says, Clayton, I need to tell you something. And I said, sure. And he said, hey, man, I heard about what you're doing last night. I said, yeah. He said, I really don't think what you did last night is consistent with who you're trying to be. I was like, come on, Chris, lighten up, okay? It wasn't that big of a deal. He's like, well, you could have gotten in a lot of trouble, right? I said, yeah, I could have, but I didn't get caught. He said, but if you had, you could have gotten in a lot of trouble, and that could have ruined your witness. You see, I just don't think that's consistent with who you're trying to be. You were stealing stuff. You see, our relationship began to change to one where we were challenging each other and holding each other accountable for growing spiritually, looking more like Jesus. That group changed my life. It's where I first began to have that daily relationship with Jesus, where I was reading my Bible and praying and hearing from God. It changed my life. I had sat in rows all my life. Worship was great. But nothing changed my life like being in the circle, like being a part of that group that Chris and I were in, like being a part of one of our life transformation groups that I've gotten to be a part of over the last 4 years. See, this is our big idea today. It's that circles are better than rows. Circles are better than rows. And I want you to write that down. I want you to remember that. Because when it comes to your relationship with Jesus, circles are better than rows. When it comes to developing that daily relationship, that spiritual life, if you're going to transition from just being like a part of religion and just kind of being a church attender to being a follower of Jesus that's growing in your relationship with Jesus, you're going to have to move from the row to the circle. And that's what we mean when we say that. We mean being in a circle is going to help you grow spiritually better than being in a row can. And so you've got a card at all of our campuses. You've got a card in your chair. I want you to take that out. If you'll take that out and look at it, and on there's kind of a step-by-step process to sign up for one of our groups. So at all of our campuses, if you'll take that card out, I want you to look at that card real quick, and I want you to take that card home with you today as a reminder that circles are better than rows. And that if you care about growing in your daily relationship with Jesus, I want to challenge you to take that card with you as a reminder today to sign up for one of our groups. To go online, you go to experiencelife.now.com. We got a video here just to show you what that looks like. Go to our website. You'll scroll to the bottom of the page to the groups button. You'll click or select that button. You'll go to our groups page. You'll see a button that says find a group. Select that button. It'll take you to this window where it says find a group, and it says number 1, search for a life transformation group in a category, an LTG, in a category that fits you best. So you'll go up here to the category, drop it down. You've got college, married, single again, which is divorced or widowed, youth. So you can select one of those life stages. We're going to select married. You can say whether children are welcome or unwelcome. You hit search. You got a list of all the groups that are going to come up that meet that criteria. You're going to see here in one of them there is a listing of campuses. That's just where the leader attends. Doesn't mean you have to attend that campus or anything. That's just where the leader attends. But it's going to say the day that they meet, the start time, the end time. So we're going to select one of those groups. It's going to give you the details on that group. It's 20s and 30s, co-ed, married, age range, when it meets. And if you're interested, you can come over here to the right side of the page and you can enter a contact form. You put your name in, your email address. You can put in a message, maybe saying a little bit about who you are or whatever, and you can hit send. And that will go to one of our leaders who will then contact you about getting plugged in to their group. And so again, I want to challenge you to take that card with you that you got in your chair home with you today at all of our campuses and sign up to get involved in one of those groups. Now, I know that to do that, to sign up, to go to somebody's house, I know that could be a step of faith for many of us. I know that could be intimidating. It could even seem challenging to a lot of us. But I want to challenge you to take that next step, to take that step of faith. And here's why. I believe God's going to reward you for doing it. I believe he's going to honor that step of faith that you take. And he's going to do something great in your life and in your family's life, just like you heard these guys talk about. I mean, who doesn't want to have those kinds of people in their life where they're growing spiritually together with them and that care for them and are there for them and are praying for them? See, I think God will honor you and reward you for taking that step of faith. And here's what you're communicating by doing that, by taking that next step, by putting yourself out there. You're communicating to Jesus that you care about your relationship with him, that you want to grow spiritually. That's what you're communicating. You're telling Jesus, Jesus, I love you and I want to grow in my relationship with you. I care about this relationship. And so I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to take that next step. I'm going to take that step of faith. So I want to challenge you. If you're not involved in the group, you're just a church attender right now, which is great, and worship is great, and rows are great, but circles are better. Being involved in one of these groups will change your life, I promise you. Now, next week, you don't want to miss part 2 of this series because our wives are going to be here and they're going to be talking and answering some of these questions and probably talking about us. And so anything my wife says, just disregard if it's about me, okay? No, you will want to be back for next week. But let's pray and just ask God to give us the strength to respond in obedience to his word to us today. God, I thank you that you put people in our lives. You put other believers, other followers of Jesus in our lives, God, to help us grow spiritually. You created us, you designed us, God, to do this Christian life with others and not on our own. And so, God, I pray for those that, God, are doing it on their own. They're isolated right now. And God, I pray you would give them the strength. You give them the boldness to go home today and to sign up for a group. God, and to take that step of faith to show up to that group. Because God, we know that you designed us, God, to grow spiritually together with others and to devote ourselves to these things. So God, I pray that right now as we sing and as we talk about you, Jesus, and these words, these songs and what you've done for us, I pray that would drive us. I pray that would give us the passion, the desire to grow in our relationship with you, Jesus, so much so that we're willing to do whatever it takes, whatever you tell us, we're willing to do it because we care about our relationship with you. We ask that in Jesus' name, amen.
Thanks for checking out one of our messages today. For more information about our church or to watch other messages, you can go to our website at experiencelifenow.com. Let us know if we can serve you in any way, and we hope to see you real soon.